Title: She challenged me, so I work in a small office with a small parking lot. This morning I parked in the front spot. During my break I decide to go to Taco Bell cause I know I'll be missing lunch cause I gotta go shopping. My coworker who was sitting in her car smoking at the time I left saw me leave, and when I came back she was in my previous spot. I don't say anything about this, but inside my mind I'm like, alright, I see how it is. Let's do this. Now, one thing about my job is that we all have different lunches scheduled and my coworker always goes home for lunch. She just happens to be 1 hour before me. So what do? I ask my boss to be excused for a second and immediately pull me car into the previous spot. Was it petty? Yes. Was it unnecessary? Yes. Do I regret it? Nah. And congrats Chica, it's now my personal mission to always hold that spot. Title: Make my ceiling your stomping ground? No electricity for you. For some background, I live in a tenement. The upstairs neighbors have a son, 16. But good lord is he a pain in the abso-friggin-lutely. The son, P, for pain in the. His mom, D, for devil. Well, P has some sort of a mental disability, something like extreme ADHD or autism. It is undiagnosed because D refuses to believe something is wrong with his spawn from hell. He has peed in the open from roof like it's normal. Tried to pull a kid out of his house to play, in the middle of heavy rains. Threatened to break into neighbor's house to watch TV. D has also pampered him to the point where he could be considered obese. Now P thinks he is 5 perhaps, because he jumps on bed all day long. It goes thump, thump, thump. We called his parents, scolded him, threatened to call cops, but damn if he can change. There are cracks in the ceiling and the sound it makes is beginning to scare me. The last thing I want is the spawn from hell descending from heaven. Someday, he is just gonna fall down. Anyway. Luckily, the electric board is on the ground floor and easily accessible. Cue petty revenge. As soon as he starts jumping, I switch off their main electricity switch, leaving them in darkness. To repent upon their sins. They have called electricians so many times, to no avail. The confused faces make it worth it. Title: Don't live here and keep parking in my assigned spot. I didn't want to give the ending away in title. Little background. I live in an apartment complex that has been taken over by new management. He's a great landlord, but has been slow to truly implement some rules in the leasing contract. One of the rules is this: only one parking space per owner. Meaning, visitors must park on the public street in front of the building. Now, when I first moved in, last year, they didn't have assigned spots, so you would just kinda park wherever. This past summer, landlord and maintenance spent an entire day repainting lines and assigning each spot a number to correspond with apartment numbers. It has been brought up in memos and meetings that he will start to implement the towing of non-authorized vehicles and has even hired someone to keep track of this, apparently. This hadn't been an issue until I went back to work. I would leave, go work my shift, and come home to find my assigned spot taken by a random vehicle. I don't know where the driver is, so I would leave a note saying that this was reserved for my apartment number. Twice I did this. One time I had knocked on the hood of the driver to get their attention so they could leave and could have my spot back. This last time though, pissed me off. I was getting my kids in the car to take them to school. There's this car that is creeping the parking lot, and I know saw me parked in my spot. They left. I happened to get out of the parking lot just in time to see them turn back into the lot. I followed them back in and my suspicions were confirmed. He parked in my spot. I pull up, with my window down, and yell at him that I live here and that is my assigned parking. They moved. Again, I had to work that night. I leave, and come back to find a different vehicle parked in my spot. This would make 5 different vehicles in the span of 2 weeks. There are also signs posted in front of each spot that only one spot per owner and violators will be towed. I parked directly behind them. I ended up blocking the previous car that I yelled at and the new car. I was horizontal compared to their vertical, and made sure I left room for other vehicles to get through the lot. You couldn't get in from the passenger side. And I left my vehicle there. Parked directly behind them and boxed them in. My boyfriend ended up answering the door when the owner came and asked if we could move my car so they could get out. He later told me that he explained that it was reserved parking. Haven't had an issue so far after that. ETA, 1. Thanks for the silver. 2. I am seeing to call a tow truck each time. That would require a call to my landlord, and he owns a couple other businesses in town, population of like 3,000 people, so he doesn't always answer right away. I don't want to start too much drama or cause too much shit since I know landlord would be the first called. Sign also says would be towed at owner's expense. But not sure who is owner in this term and don't want to find out. Title: Hog all the parking at the top of the hill? Enjoy waiting to get out of the driveway. This happened years ago, back when I was still working residential healthcare. One of the houses that I worked at had a really steep driveway that led from the road up to the front door, garage. There was room to park at the top of the driveway, in front of the entrance, and there was more than enough room for 2 cars to park side by side in this area. Since my shift was the overnight and usually involved arriving and leaving in the dark, and because my car had already been broken into once in that area, I was not comfortable with parking at the bottom of the hill. This usually wasn't an issue. Usually. Cue a coworker whose name I couldn't remember if I tried. In addition to the healthcare work, she was also a correctional officer and had this "I'm boss, I'm better than you" air about her. Which explained why she liked to park her truck right in the middle of the parking area at the top of the hill, taking up both spots. I mentioned it to her 2 or 3 times, that if she parked a bit further over to the right or left, we would both be able to park there and I wouldn't have to go through the process of parking at the bottom of the hill, clocking in, waiting for her to leave, then going out and moving my car to the safe location. She refused to change her parking habits and I was getting increasingly frustrated by the petty behavior. One night, I was venting to my mother about the situation when she gave me the perfect solution. The next night I was relieving this particular coworker at this particular house. Sure enough, she had her truck hogging up the entire upper parking area. So I pulled my car up right behind hers, blocking her from pulling out. I clocked in, checked in with her about any important information about the clients, then excused myself to the bathroom while she got ready to leave. Less than 30 seconds after going into the bathroom, she's knocking at the door to inform me that my car is blocking her and I need to move it. Naturally, I act shocked. Oh no. You can't get around it? Shoot, I thought for sure I left enough room for you to get around it. Alright, so sorry about that, just give me a minute and I'll be right out. I then proceeded to kick back and play on my phone for the next 10 minutes, leaving her standing outside the bathroom door with an attitude so strong I can practically feel it pulsing through the door. Once I decided she waited long enough, I made a show of flushing the toilet and washing my hands before finally going out and moving my car so she could leave. Title: Responding to a text 4 years later. For a little background, I was raised and live in suburban Los Angeles. My parents are originally from rural Ohio, which is where the entirety of my extended family lives. Politically speaking, most of my family are quite conservative while I'm extremely liberal. Products of our environments, if you will. I go visit a few times a year, 2020 excluded, and we generally don't discuss politics too often. But in 2016, the day after Trump was declared the winner, I received a text simple saying, "What an election, tears of joy." It was from a number I didn't recognize, but based on the area code I knew it was someone in my extended family from rural O trying to rub it in. I never responded, they never texted me again, but I never forgot about it. Since I'm petty as hell, I waited until Biden was declared the winner of the 2020 election and finally responded after 4 years, simple saying, "What an election, tears of joy."